Emilio Pippi, my great-uncle, was a soldier in the 10th Armored Division in World War II. He experienced a lot, and unlike many who have gone through the horror of war, he's always glad to share his stories, good and bad. Today, he's here to share them with everybody.
Otherwise, I can't forget a lot of stuff. It's always on my mind. I got a letter from the president. Greetings, you are to report for duty, and you got to report to Cleveland, and get indicted in Cleveland, and you go through examination before you go. They check you over heart and everything. I went to Cleveland, and then they said, well, you're going to shipped out to Fort Meade, Maryland. You got to get 6 weeks of training before you go overseas. So we started our training, and we got transferred. We got transferred to Alabama, Fort McClellan, Alabama then. Fort Meade, Maryland, and Fort McClellan, Alabama. And they said, you'll finish your training here. And what we had to do is, they had barbed wire stretched all over like that. And you have to crawl under the wire, and they got a machine gun firing over your head. But you crawl right under it. We crawled under it, and while they're firing over your head, and my pants got caught on barbed wire. I didn't know what to do. I said, I can't stand up, I'll be dead. So the guy came up behind me and he untied me and he said, okay, because boy, you move, keep moving. Well, we got through that. And then he says, now you're gonna go to Camp Shanks, New York, because you're shipping out. They cut our training because the Battle of the Bulge broke out. They said, they need troops, and we're gonna cut your training out. I got only 3 weeks training. So they cut our training, and we went to Camp Shanks, New York, and there was a big prison camp, barbed wire around there, and they were all blacks. And there was one fence around where we were, and it was all white. That's when the blacks and white didn't get along. There was a fight every night. I said, boy, I'm glad I'm not in there. They were always fighting. Well, anyway, the next morning he said, okay, you guys are gonna go through training. They had a ship there, part of a ship, and they had some water. You're going to know how to abandon ship and learn how to swim. Oh boy. So we learned that, and then he said, now after this, you guys get on a ship, and you're going overseas, and good luck. And we said, well, see, everything is different now. You're going to be soldiers. We got in there and got over in. That night, I went crossing the Atlantic Ocean in the Queen Mary. It took 7 days across the ocean. And when I woke up, I said, wonder where we're at. We landed in Glasgow, Scotland. I said, I used to read about Glasgow in my history books when I went to school. So it was a beautiful place. They had houses like up on the mountains all over. And we got there, and then I got signed. I got signed to the 10th Armored Infantry. Well, we ride in a half-track, 12 men and a sergeant, squad leader. So we were going through this woods. We come to this town, and the sniper got the sergeant. Oh, by the way, he was 30 years old. We were 18. We called him Pop. We used to say, Pop. We thought like he was an old man. Well, he got shot in the head. Blood squirted all over it, and we left him down, got stopped, left him down. And I felt so bad. So we kept going, and finally we come into this town, and they knocked out a tank. The way it is, the armored division, the tank leads away, and when the tank's knocked out, then the foot soldier has to dismount and take the town. So they said, dismount and go in and take a town. They said, we gotta see what's going on. The buildings were burning, there were shells, there was all kinds of stuff. And when I was coming along, that fire from that building was so hot, I was ducking down like this. Sergeant was right in front of me. My rifle was by his ear, and I had my rifle like this. And up here come a German coming right at me. He didn't see me until he stopped. I saw him first. When he stopped, that's all he wrote. I let him have it 8 times. I pulled the trigger. I never stopped. So we went up to see, and there was a German. And I looked at him, and his face looked like a boy. And right away I got a feeling over me. I felt so bad. I said, I wonder if he had a family and had kids. And the sergeant said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I said, I don't know how you kill a man right off like that. And he said, this is war. And he said, you ought to be lucky he didn't get you first. And then he said, he's a sniper. You know what a sniper is? He said, he probably killed 50 of your guys. They hide, they can't see you, and they shoot everybody in the head. So I said, well, then I started feeling a little bit better. I said, well, I think so, that's the way it is. So then we went on to another place. And we come to this is like a mountain. And it had a road leading up to it. And on the other side of this hill or mountain, the Germans were shelling us with mortars. And they come over here like that. And I was standing in the way it is, when you go in, there's always somebody got to stay with the half track of the 50. Because the driver sits in there and he don't get out. And somebody stands there there's a turret with a 50 caliber. They said, hey, Pepe, you stay on the half track today. I said, okay. They dismounted and went in, and I was standing like this and looking around, and the shell come over and lit right in the motor. And it threw me clear out of I got a piece of steel right in my leg. Threw me out, and he says, we're going to have to take you back to the field station. I said, okay. So they took me back in the truck, and I got in the field station where they had tents. I got back in there, and a bunch of guys wounded, and there's Germans in there. They're patching Germans up. I said, we're going out to fight them, and you guys are patching? He said, well, Americans, you know how Americans are. We don't believe like Germans to kill people. We try to save everybody. So anyway, I sit there, and this woman says, take off your, she put a blanket on, take off your pants. We want pants, and I had to be still, sucker. I still got the scar. And they said, well, you're lucky. You're lucky it didn't blow your leg off. Because steel, when a shell flies, it flies so hard. So they pulled the steel out, patched me up. And I was in the hospital about a month, and they got me up, making me walk right away. Says, you're going to go back up to the front. The wound isn't good enough for you to go home. So I said, well, I go back up to the front. So I went back up to the front. Before I got wounded, this was before I got wounded, we were in this, we got to the front lines, and the Germans shot our half track, and the radiator was leaking, so we couldn't go nowhere, and they stopped, and the lieutenant said, you guys stay here, the quartermaster car, fix it, put a new radiator, and then you come up to the front. I said, okay. So we stuck around there, and they put a new radiator, and then we got in there, and we start going up to the front, and it was dark, and one guy says, hey, we're crazy. What are we going up in the dark? It's dark. I said, well, why don't you wait till morning? So we seen a big barn, and we stopped at the barn, and it was haystack, and then we went to sleep. And the first thing you know, the next morning, the lieutenant was like, you guys still here? I said, get your ass up to the front. So we got in the half track, and we went out to the front. We got in the half track, and he said, you guys ready to go in action? I said, no, you guys just got over here. I said, okay. So they took us on this hill. I said, now we just took this hill from the Germans. They put us in a foxhole, and it was raining that night. We put a tent half over our heads. So now you guys stay awake. You guys, said, you guys, they're just getting over here. You guys are going to stand guard tonight. I said, okay. So they put us on guard. Stay awake, because the German will counterattack, and if you don't, they'll cut your neck. So we said, hell, we're so tired we fell asleep. Both of us. Next morning, the guy come over and he said, hey, you guys, wake up. So you got to thank God the Germans didn't counterattack last night. You guys have been dead. So we didn't know. We're just green troops, you know. So anyway, then we got in the outfit and started going, and he said, you guys are going to learn as soon as you get in the front, because he said, I know you guys are just come over, but we're glad to have you. We need you. So we start going, and then we're stationed in this one place, and yeah, we got in this one place, and we stopped and stayed. They said, there's a tank down over the hill. It's lost. They don't know where they're at. And there's Germans down there. We went a patrol, 6 men, to go down there and hit that tank back up on there and show them how to direction where to go. So we start walking down this. It was down around like this, around this mountain, and on the side of the road, the mountain, there was a little creek. We're in the water. We're walking down there, big as you please, clop, clop, making noise. We didn't know that. The Germans heard us, and they start firing. Bullets are flying all over. Said, hey, we hollered out, hold your fire, American patrol. We thought it was this tank. And boy, then all hell broke loose. We dove for that, in that water. We just dove in there, and I laid in there, and bullets are flying over our head, hitting this mountain. The pieces of rock are falling down. We said, we're lucky. They didn't know how high we were, but they were firing. They were firing way over our head. So the fire sergeant says, hey, Pippi, crawl back. Turn around, crawl back. Said, crawl, because we got to get out of this hole. So a guy behind me just come over, and he wouldn't move. He froze. He was scared. He was crying. I said, he won't move. He says, kick him in the head. I kick him in the head. It wouldn't do no good. So I crawled up over him. And he said, well, we're going to get out of there. So we got out, and we start running. We got out of there. We got back to our lines, and they hollered, what's the password? If you don't know the password, you don't get through. I said, they didn't give us a password when we left. We left in a hurry. So the guy says, okay, who won the championship, baseball championship? We said, the Yankees, and it happened to be they did. Okay, advance. So we come over, boys. We thought we were going to get blown away. We never did get that tank. I don't know what happened. Never went back. And you know, we thought we were scared. When we were going around there, it was dark, and the bullets, you could see they got tracers. The bullets are red, like on fire, tracer bullets. You could see them. And we seen some firing straight in the air. I said, well, the Germans are scared too. There's some of them just shooting in the air because they're scared. But anyway, that was the end of that, and we got back in that. A lot of stuff too that happened that was funny, but most of it, hell, war is hell. Tell you, when you see your buddy's arm blowed off or a guy's leg blowed off, a shell hits and blows everything in hell. And then when after I shot that German, I said, why do I worried about that German? I said, now I could kill them all. After I seen our buddies, I could kill them all, I said. And then, we went in this hot town one day, and they said, we're going to take this town because the Germans knocked the tank out. The tank, when we got there, the tank was out. We looked at it, and the guys in it were dead because German shell goes into and explodes inside and kills everybody. We felt sorry for those Americans in there. Anytime you see an American kill your buddy, boy, you could cut somebody in half. So we went in this town and said, I want to search that town, that captain says, and then if you don't find anything, I'm going to level it to the ground. I'll call for artillery. So we went in there, and I had a Tommy gun I found in the basement. And I liked it. The guy said, that thing ain't no good. I said, the hell it ain't. I fired 14 times, and my rifle only shoots 8. So I kept my rifle on my shoulder, and I kept his Tommy gun. And when we got to this house, we're going in this house, Sergeant said, hey, Pippi, spray that door. So I fired everything in there. We went through the door. When we got in the kitchen, there was a cake on the table. The Germans were celebrating Easter Sunday. This was Easter Sunday. I said, and everybody went for the cake. Said, don't touch that cake. It could be a booby trap. So he took his bayonet and filled it in there and sits around. He said, it's okay. So we ate their cake. So I went to search the house. The guy says, search the basement. We were looking for soldiers. I went down the basement, and down there was 2 big round barrels where they make wine. And there was a woman, there were 2 kids. And she was scared, sitting there. I said, lady, you don't have to worry. We're not going to hurt you. I said, we don't shoot civilians. We're looking for soldiers. She said, there ain't any here. So we got up and left. We went in this town, and Patton said to his officers, I don't want to hear you guys are holding this position. We ain't holding nothing. He said, we're advancing. So we kept going and going and going, and First thing you know, the Germans let us go. They kept going back, and when we got so far, then they cut us off. They surrounded us. We were surrounded. And I remember one thing, there was a bus depot in this town right where we stopped. And it was 2-story, and we went in and looked, and there was a picture of Hitler on the wall. Well, we blew that picture all to hell. And we went upstairs, and the guy says, the sergeant said, "Hey, Pepe, go down and get the machine gun. We'll put it on this roof. There's a flat roof. You open the 2 windows, and there." And he said, "We'll put it right here, and we'll look right down their throat," because there was a creek, and they were going to cross this river or this little creek. He said, "We'll put the machine gun pointing down there. If they try to come across there, we'll have them." So we did that, and I laid out there. I was the first one on guard. I had a blanket. It was cold that night. I laid there, and everything was quiet. So I come back in. The guys in the kitchen, always Americans, they always eat. They had the kitchen light on, and they were cooking whatever sausage again, I guess, and everything. They were cooking, and I went out. There's a hallway, straight hallway. This is the door to come up the steps from up downstairs, and this hallway goes to the bedroom. So I went in there and I said, "I'm gonna get some rest." I lay on the bed, and pretty soon I heard a knock. Somebody's knocking. I see a shadow on the door through that window, and I thought it could be the Germans. You didn't know who it was because we were cut off. So I sit there back here with my rifle pointing at. I said, "If he comes through that door," I had him. He didn't come through the door. He left. So I said, went in the kitchen. I told the guys, said, "Hey, did you know there was somebody out there?" "No." I said, I thought maybe it'd be a German." He said, "Well, I don't know if it was." Next morning, this guy comes in, American. "Where the hell were you guys last night?" I said, "Why?" He said, "I come up knocking on the door to get a cup of coffee." I said, "You know how lucky you are?" I said, "I didn't shoot. I held back." He said, "What?" I said, "I didn't know whether you were a German or not." I said, "I couldn't make you out." And I said, "And we're surrounded." So he said, "No, they ain't around here yet." So he said, I had a cup of coffee. And he said, "I ain't coming back here no more and get you guys going." So that night, we fought our way out of there. We got out of there. Oh, wait a minute. Got in a half track, and we had a guy that his eyesight was bad, and he was a driver. And there's a machine gun on this side, machine gun on this. And I had my arm around the machine gun like this, the rest of my head. And he was driving, following all these guys, and he went off the road and upset. When he upset, my arm was caught under the machine gun, and I couldn't get out. And I could hear German speaking. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Hey, somebody, get me out of here, get me out of here." I felt a pair of arms grab me and pull me out, ripped my shirt, my jacket off, and said, "Get in." And there was a truck coming by, and the captain says, "Come in." I got in there, and he pulled out, and he had a jug. He said, "Here, take a swig." He gave me a swig of that moonshine. And anyway, we got out of that trap that night, and I said, "Boy, how lucky I was that night." I said, "How were the Germans?" I said, "I could hear them speaking." He said, "They're all around us, but they didn't come in. They could have had us, but they didn't. So we busted out of that trap." Oh boy, that was a day. You have trouble here, we go there. You have trouble there, we go there. But I always know that Patton was behind us, and that's why we always spearhead, go, 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 go. He said, "You guys are tired. The Germans are tired too, so that way you keep them off their feet." Oh, I remember one time, and a sergeant, I said, "Pepe, me and him are buddies. He liked me," and he says, "I want you to be my driver." He said, "I'm getting a Jeep." He said, "Where are we going?" He said, "I'll tell you where to go. Never mind." I said, "Okay." I got in a Jeep and went back down this road, somewhere back in this road, and parked. And he went to see a woman. He went in his house, and I said, he wasn't allowed to do that during the war. That's called fraternization with the enemy. And when I was sitting in a Jeep waiting for him, and I seen somebody with field glasses far away looking. I said, "Uh-oh, they're watching." So I didn't say that when the sergeant come out. I told him, he said, "Oh, don't worry about it." When he got back, they got him. Says, "You know, Sergeant," said, "we could court-martial you for fraternizing with enemies." Well, anyway, they let him go, but he was a nice guy. After the war, I'll tell you something. What happened after the war? I had a sergeant that lived in Cincinnati named Spinelli, Italian. And after the war, during the war, after the war, he was in this one house, and he said, "Hey, Pippi." Oh, he says, "Go out there and find Pippi. Tell him to come in here." So he went out. Some guy said, "Hey, the sergeant wants to see you." I said, "What did I do now?" He said, "Oh, he wants to see you." So I went in there and I opened the door, and he says, "Shut the door." I shut the door. He was sitting on a bed. He brought out a box from home. He had salami, pepperoni. He said, "We're going to have a feast, me and you." And you know what? After the war, he come and see me and my wife. I got pictures of him. He'd come and see us. Well, we went to see him first in Cincinnati. And what do you think he had on the table? Pepperoni, sausage. I said, "Oh, you remember?" He died. He's dead. He had gangrene in his leg, and they cut it off. They had to cut the other one. He died. But he was a hell of a nice guy. I'll never forget him. Yeah, you know. Then this is part after the war. We were staying. They took 12 men, 12 of us, and said, "You guys are going to go in a certain place here. We got to where Patton's stay in his house, and you guys are going to guard him." There wasn't nobody around. So they gave us this house, and we were staying in this house, and we were one guy on guard, two guys on guard, two off, two on, two off, and we was guarding his house. And I was in the kitchen again. We were always in the kitchen, and we were eating something, and somebody knocked on the door and says, "Hey, Pippi, your brother's here." I said, "What?" "Oh, you guys quit pulling my leg. Your brother's here." I went to the door. There was my brother, and he was in Germany before me, and we never seen each other. And I don't know. He come 300 miles to see me. Opened the door, but we hugged each other. We cried like babies. And then we ate together, and he left the next morning. And he rode home and told my mother about it. She was happy.
Tony and Orf and him are all in the service.
There was 3 of us. One was in the Navy, and 2 of us in the Army. But
And my
oh,
mother
that was a
kept
good day.
saying,
That was a pleasant day.
"Mary, write to him.
Yeah.
So I wrote to
You wrote to
Tony.
it.
I had his address in Germany, and I had his in Germany, and I got them connected together.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was nice. Oh,
Was home a lot different after the war than when you left?
the what?
Was home a lot different after the
Oh,
war than
yeah.
when you left?
You were happy to come home. I come home in a taxi. I slammed the door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I slammed the taxi door, and I heard somebody, "Hey, Emilio's home, Emilio's home." They come running at the door to see me. That was nice. Yeah, after the war, everything was kind of different. And people just didn't, you hated Germans and all that, but after the war, you didn't care. But I know one thing, Americans never shot, not that I know of, but one guy shot a prisoner, wounded or something. We were searching this house one day, and I see this young kid. He was just young, and there was a German wounded laying against a fence like this, and he wasn't dead. I know he wasn't dead. And I said, I wonder if somebody could call somebody and get help to help this guy. And this guy went up to him and pulled the trigger, shot him, and he left out a moan. You know, that was an American, but I could have shot that guy. Said, that guy's wounded and he shot him. So he killed him. But, I had a guy out there, there's a story. We were spearheaded again, and every time, you got to understand that armored division, you got a tank and a half track with troops, tank, then half tracks, and then there could be miles and miles of hope coming up, and we were going up this road, and the first tank got knocked out again, and they said, got to send the troops in again. So we said, we come around this corner, and we go there, and there was this one sergeant had a buddy of his close to him, and the German behind the bush shot him, got him. He fell down, and so we said, surround that, or we surrounded. That guy got him out. He surrendered. He come up. The sergeant said, lay down beside him. He said, this is war. He said, lay down beside him, and he shot him. Said he shot him because he said, you could have surrendered. Said you could have surrendered and you would have killed him. So he shot that German. And then the people come and see the American and the Germans. So what you're scared of all the time when you're there is, I wasn't scared much of bullets, the shells. When they fired, that Germans had what you call an 88. They could put the bullet right in your hip pocket. That's how accurate it was. And when they fired it at the troops. They blowed them all to hell, stuff like that. And I was always scared of that. I didn't like that 88, but it knocked a tank out easy. But one time, another time, Germans had what you call a Tiger tank. It had so much armor. Our men shot 5 times with a bazooka, and it bounced off of that tank. And so then he backed his tank, he backed around the building, and the Germans shot at that building, and the building fell on the tank. But it was lucky because this German was turning his, our gun, you got electric. You pull it like that, and the gun will go fast. The Germans had a crank theirs. Well, this German tank was crossing the road, and when we fired at him, he started cranking his gun and going slow like that. This guy just backed around the building to get away, so that back off, 5 shells ricocheted off of him. But then later on, we got what you call a Tiger tank, a tank destroyer. I got a picture of me at home. I was on guard one day. This thing was big, and it had a 90 millimeter on the gun. When the Germans had 88, we had a 90. And this thing used to knock the German tanks out. So after the war, they got it almost after the war. And after the war, they said, you guys get ready. We're going to train to go to Japan because the war didn't end in Japan. So I got in this tank. We got in this tank, and I had to learn how to drive. I was an assistant driver. So we was going through buildings and everything with it. And what I was scared of was it had a turret where the gun in there and didn't have a top on it, just had a canvas top. And they said the Japs are in the trees. I said, well, we go to Japan, they'll drop grenades. And but the war ended in Japan. Boy, was I lucky. I was happy. That was the end of that. Oh, boy.
Do you remember the bombs being dropped? What was your reaction to that?
The what?
When the bombs were dropped in Japan?
Oh, I was glad. I was very glad. Boy, we paid the Japs back for what they did. You know how many they killed of ours, just like Hitler. He killed 6 million Jews.
Yeah.
Hitler I gotta tell you, I saw this camp. They got a barbed wire fence all the way around, barbed wire, and they had furnaces where they burned the people, burned his bodies. They had bodies stacked up like wood, glasses, shoes. They took them over, and we come in this town, and the people didn't know. They know about the Eisenhower. When Eisenhower got there, he went. I think it was Eisenhower. Went into the town. He told the troops, gather and make everybody out of their house and bring them over here. He made them march through that camp. He says, how could you let this happen? Well, what could they do? Like Hitler, if you didn't listen to him, he just shot you. He got rid of you. They shot kids. Oh, God. He shot all kinds of people. They killed them all.
When did you get your Purple Heart? And what was that like?
I got a piece of shrapnel on my foot. Took me to the hospital. When I was in the hospital, they pinned it on my pillow. I got the Purple Heart. I got the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Germany, Good Conduct, Central Europe, and Victory Medal. That's what all these are. They gave me 6 medals. I got them at home, but I put these on. But yeah, I don't know. When you go in your service, like me, I was 18. I didn't know what I was going to get into, but I said I got to do the best I can to save my life. Oh, I'll tell you another one. This is a good one too. We're like I said, we're always advancing and armored, and we don't walk. The foot infantry, like the 42nd Infantry or stuff, they walk all through that. We ride. We're the armored infantry. Well, anytime there's trouble, stop, you dismount, then you go ahead. So we're just coming up this hill. I'll never forget this. This was an open field. In about 1,000 yards, there was real thick woods. So we were coming up to there, and in the woods, the Germans had artillery, and they kept shelling us. They kept falling all over, and the captain says, "Call for a tank. We want to get they call them forward observers." So this guy come on the tank with his field glasses, looking out there, and he called for air support. Here come an airplane, and you could tell they said by the tail who the pilot is. It was a Frenchman, because it was a French flag flying our plane. He come over and he's shooting in the woods just like that, and he must have went too low, and they got him. He come right at us. The plane was on fire, burning, and he crashed. About 100 foot from me, and I hit the ground. A piece of the wing fell on my back, and I said, I'm hit. And the sergeant come over, and he looked at me, and he says, "You're okay." He said, "You're pretty red, sore from where it hit me," but he said, "You ain't got no blood." So I got up, and we went over to see where the plane stuck in the ground like that. All we found was the guy's teeth, his teeth and everything. He got killed. He didn't bail out. So we said, well, we got to get that there woods, and they were shelling, and they said, dig a hole, dig a trench. We're digging. You dig your hole, and when you crawl on the hole. So I dug my hole, and I was crawling on my belly, talking to my buddy back and forth. We were both digging holes. I crawled back in there, and I went back to my hole. There was a piece of steel stuck in the ground. I said, "Oh boy!" Another time, the good Lord saved me. If I would have been there, that would have cut my head open. So that was another time. I said, "Boy, the good Lord's on my side." But I felt sorry for that pilot. Oh God, he went too low, and they got him. But I went to Conneaut, Ohio. They have the reenactment of the war. My niece took me there, and you wouldn't believe it. And this here is a camp with all Americans. Oh, here's a camp with all the British, and over here's a camp with Germans. I said, I want to go to a German camp. I said, I want to see that. I went there and looked at those uniforms. The guys are Americans, are dressed in uniform. I said to one guy, I said, "Gee," I said, "boy, do you remind me of somebody." He said, "Well, a lot of Americans won't come and talk to us because we've got German uniform." I said, "Well, I know you're Americans," because I said, I'm only gazed at the uniform, because I said, I've seen so much of it. I said, especially that helmet. And we sit there and talk. I got pictures of them. They talk and talk. Got 50 of them come around me, all of them. They want to know these stories, and I start telling them, oh, God. And I said, I never felt like I was so close to Germans in all my life. But that was another thing. That was nice. The thing you want to do if you're in the service, you want to have buddies. You want to have a buddy or a couple of be good buddies next to you. Because if you get hit, he'll help you out or something. And I always had a good buddy. Oh, this one time, we come to this road, and at the end of the road, there was downhill, all like that and everything, and this tank stopped, and we stopped our half-track, and the sergeant said, we got to protect that. Said, deploy all your men on this side and that side, line up and facing that way. We want to see the Germans are going to come up over that hill. And they said, this sergeant, there was a guy named Peterson from Pennsylvania. I call him Hillbilly. And he was a machine gunner. And a machine gunner has a helper that feeds a machine gun. And he got a helper. So he goes opposite side of the machine gun out so far, and we're out there, and I was laying over here on this side, and pretty soon the sergeant said, hey, Pepe, go out there and call those guys, we're moving out. I got out so far, I said, hey, Peterson, come on, we're moving. He said, help me. I said, you got a helper? He took a machine gun and pointed at me. And I said, I told him, I said, I'm gonna tell you, when he got by the half track, I said, I'll tell you, Sergeant, you better pull that gun the next time, because if you get behind me, I'm gonna kill you. I said, you never point a gun at me and tell me you got a helper. And he just was one of those kind. So every time we get in a half track, I said, go and get on there. I didn't trust him. That was a close one, but that's the way it was. That's the only guy that I run into that was bad. He thought he was somebody and he'd give orders and stuff like that. But you run across them. But most of the guys are good guys. Ah, gee. Oh, they want to make me sergeant. I said, no way. I don't want to be. We was on training. We was up in Alabama, and we climb up a big mountain. You hike with a full-filled pack and everything. Boy, you think that's how they break you in. You're sweating, and boy, your straps are cutting in your shoulder. You're marching, and always coming back. The platoon, I was in the platoon. The sergeant said, hey, Pippi, take over. He said he had to go somewhere. So I took over and I started saying, hut, 2, 3, 4, come on. These guys start fooling around, getting out of step. They were screwing me up. I said, hey, get in step. They didn't. So this one guy said, hey, Pippi, I'll take it. I said, go ahead. When we got back to camp, the sergeant said, call the platoon out. And they said, I heard that these guys messed you up. I said, yeah. He says, point them out. I couldn't do it. Because I said, I can't squeal. If I squeal, they'll get me anyway. They'll get me later. I couldn't squeal. I said, forget about it. He said, no, point them out. I was going to point them out. And I said, no, forget about it. So I said, okay, if that's the way you want it. But I didn't want it. I said, I don't want to be responsible for men. If they made me sergeant, I might have made me sergeant overseas. I'd rather take orders than give orders. They give you K rations to eat. You got a box like that, 3 meals a day. They give you 3, you carry them with you. Unless, because when you're in the front lines, you got time for nothing. And the only time would be when we stopped for a while and reorganized or something, the kitchen would catch up to us and we'd get a hot meal. In other words, you had cold rations. And all it was a can of cheese, little hot dogs, a bar of candy, chocolate, some crackers. That's what you lived on. Oh, another thing. I always was told, one guy said, baby, whatever you do, don't ever volunteer for anything. I said, okay, so we're in training. And this one guy said, we need paratroopers. Anybody that's, you got to volunteer. You don't pick you. You got to volunteer. So anybody that wants to be a paratrooper, you go into training, you go back to England in a month, and before you go overseas. Well, this guy says, hey, we go back to England instead of going on the front. I said, let's go. We walked up the stairs of the headquarters of paratroopers, got fired at the door and something said, don't volunteer for nothing, Pippi. I said, I'll see you later. He said, where are you going? I said, no, I'm not going. He said, no, come on. I know I left. This guy went. I didn't see him then. When he went, he come out and said, so long, you guys. I'm going back to England for training. I said, oh, we'll see you. I never seen him till after the war. He had 2, 3 bullet holes there where you could see the scars. And he said, I said, what'd you get into? He said, well, they put me in the Rangers. They called the Rangers. All they got was a 45, and he carried a wire that you go up to the enemy's neck and go to put that wire and cuts it, and give him a cut in his throat. I said, that's all you had? He said, yeah. He said, well, we dropped behind enemy lines. I said, boy, I'm glad I didn't. But then that's one of the things I learned, don't volunteer. I was part of the greatest army in the world. I was proud of that. U.S. To see it, when you see your buddies, especially when you're parading and marching and everybody, and when it's at peacetime, especially. I tell anybody, like my niece, she's got a son who's in the army. I said, that's a good place for him. He said,
Debbie.
I asked him, yeah, Debbie. He says, yeah. I said, if you're in the army at peacetime, no war, they feed you, they clothe you, and they teach you anything you want to learn. You go to school. And I said, where else could you do anything better? And if you ain't got a job, that'd be the best place. And I said, they teach you respect. The first thing we told us, a woman, you say ma'am, and a sir to a man. They taught us that. They teach you how to make a bed. Boy, I'll tell you something, if you make a bed, you got this army blanket, you tuck it under, and you got to have it so tight, because the guy will come and throw a 50-cent piece. If it don't bounce, he tears it up, make it over. You learn how to wash your own clothes. I used a washboard. Oh God, yeah, that's a good life if you're at peacetime, because you can come home, you got furloughs, they got what they call USOs. They're going to have a dance or something, but not during war. You learn to fire every gun, BAR, machine gun, Tommy gun, rifle, pistol. I fired them all, and I like that Tommy gun. That Tommy gun, the guy, he says, well, you can't hit nothing you do with that. I said, hey, I'll tell you what, anything that's got more than 5 bullets, I love it. Because like when I pulled the trigger and shot that guy, my finger froze on the trigger, and then that clip comes out, you put another one in. Yeah.
It killed me.
Oh. See, I 70 years of that, I can't forget. It's something you go through, it sticks in your mind. You see horror, you see how bad people are, how they kill these people. You see these people shot to death. You see them bleed. You see them burned to death. You can't, especially Hitler. I don't know other wars, but that war was one of the hell. Oh, I got a German flag. I gave it to my nephew. SWAT sticker. I got that. I was up in Hitler's house. Hitler had a house. They called it an eagle's nest. It was way up in the mountains. That's where he'd go to rest.
Eagle's nest.
That's where he'd go to rest. We come in there. It was all bombed over or whatever. I looked in there and I got that flag, and I got a piece of the drape out his window. I brought it home, but I don't know what happened to it. But the flag, my nephew's got it. I said, don't show that flag around, because I said, that's a hatred flag. I said, it's a souvenir. They give you papers or leaflets, like to explain this part and that part. And this guy that was in charge, my niece, said, here, I got a card for your uncle from a boy in school, 6 years old. His name was Michael, but he didn't have his address. I opened it up and said, it got me crying. I said, I never believed you risked your life so I could be free. 6 years old. Boy, they got me crying. I said, I like to write to him. And I did. I wrote to him and I said, I want to send him something. I sent him one of these here. I know, you got one of these? That's my life history there. After the war, I got a job at a factory making lockers.
Oh.
And I would spray it. And I couldn't stand in a shop, that heat and all that, so I wanted to get a job outside. So a guy says, there's a guy that wants somebody to help him. He moves houses. Moves houses? I said, yeah. So I went and got it, $1 an hour. And this guy would jack up a house, this is no lie, He had these wheels, then he had a truck, and they pulled it and like somewhere now on 25th Street in Canton, right next to that church, that big two-story house. That's one that I helped them move. When they moved, they had a higher power has to come. They have to drop all the wires. Oh, what a job! But I like that. And then I said, "That okay?" So then I went and got a job with Ready Mix, Diano Supply, and I drove a cement mixer for 25 years. Yeah, that was a good job. That was a hard job, but I made it. Yeah, jobs were hard to get back in them days. But you had to take whatever you had, because the factories were still making war material. You see, when the war broke out in Roosevelt said we'll put out so many tanks a month. All the factories went to building materials for the. And if you know, women did most of the work, and men went to war. They had women in the factories making war material. So then after the war, even cars, they weren't making no cars. Because when I come home from the army, I wanted to buy a car. There was no cars. They had a couple in the parking lot used cars. So I seen one guy in Yorksville, he had a 40 Chevy. And I said, boy, that looks nice. So I went over to see him and I bought the car. I paid $1,000 for a 40 Chevy. $1,000. That was 20 years old. But anyway, I had it, and I got pictures of it. And that's it. And then they start making cars more and everything, then this country back on its feet. But this country, they said that's one thing about Roosevelt. He put this country on the map, because we furnished supplies of Russia and everything, ships and everything. We could build them so fast. But that's it. Yeah, I remember that coming home. I said, I want to buy a car. There ain't no cars. So I would have liked to have brought home my rifle. That was I call it my honey. I slept with it everywhere I went. You never separate it from your rifle, because if you do, you ain't got nothing. And that rifle was one hell of a rifle, that M1. It took it every place you went. You never stopped. Oh, I worked at 19th Street. There was a agriculture. They used to sell grass seed and stuff to warehouses and everything. I worked there for $1.66 an hour. Can you imagine that? And I was making $60 a week, and I was married, and that wasn't much money. That's when I said I got it.
That's what I was
So I went to the guy, the boss, and he liked me. And I was driving a mixer before I got to him, but anyway, I went to him, and because I would make more money, and I said, I got to have a raise. I can't make it on this one. You got it. He told me, you got it, because he liked me. Raise come 10 cents. The people working there were working for $1.60 an hour for years, and he said, boy, you got a 10-cent raise. How'd you do that? I went and asked him. So every time I'd go ask him, 10-cent raise. I got it up to $2.95 an hour. And the people that worked there says, we worked there for 15 years, and I got only $1.50. How'd you do it? I said, I just went and asked the boss. Oh, well, I can say, out of all the guys I knew, most of them are gone. I know a couple of guys that were. See, I went to the service, one from Louisville, his name was Miller, one from Hartville, his name was Troyer, and one from Canton, one from Youngstown, and he was a rich guy, he had a car. When in camp, when we were in camp, he brought his car in camp, he had a Buick. He was allowed to park his car, they were allowed to have a car. So we were three of us, and when they said, well, you guys, the Germans are pushing the Americans back in the Battle of Bulge, you guys are gonna cut your training, you gotta ship overseas. But you're allowed to have a pass today is Saturday. You'll have to have a pass, but you got to be back Monday. If you ain't Monday, you're AWOL. So I said, okay. So we went home. The guy had the car, and he said, well, we'll go home. I said, go home? I said, that's 300 miles. They said you only could go 50. So we come home. They dropped me off at Mom's house. Yeah, was you there? You remember, don't you? They dropped me off. They said, we'll pick you up tonight at 7 o'clock. And this was Saturday night, Sunday night. Sunday, anyway, they went and they come back at 7 o'clock, picked me up. They got me, you go around the corner, I think it was 9th Street, over in Canton. They stopped and picked up 2 girls. I said, what are you guys doing? I said, we're taking our girls back to camp. I said, crazy. Well, I'm stuck. I'm in the car. What am I going to do? So I get there. I'm going down the highway. I never forget this. It was raining. It was cold. And they had a flat tire. I said, Pippi, go fix the tire. They got their girls in there hugging the girls, and I had to go and jack the car up, take the tire off, and I thumbed the ride from my truck back to a gas station, got the tire fixed, come back, put it on. Boy, I was froze. So we left. We got into Washington, D.C. Sunday morning. Now, we're supposed to be back Monday, and we'll never make it. So when they pulled in Washington, I asked this cab driver, I said, hey, well, you want to drive me back to camp? He said, we don't go out of town. These guys were going to a show. I said, I guess I go to a show. So we went to the show. We pulled in Monday morning. Yeah, Monday morning, the shipment already left. Or was it Tuesday? Anyway, we pulled in there early in the morning, creeped in there real quiet, got out of the truck, got in the barracks. The barracks is a big barracks, and they got about 50 men in their beds. All the beds were empty but 4. Oh boy. So we crawled in bed, we were tired. In the morning, there's a guy with a 45. Says, you guys are under arrest. Oh God, I said, they're gonna shoot us. We thought they was gonna shoot us. So we got out, he took us out and he said, you're gonna go to a court hearing. Got this big room where there's a table and there's all officers on the other side. And you come up and salute and say, Private Pippi reported, sir. And then you stand at attention. And he reads it off. He says, 6 months fine, or 6 months in prison, $25 fine. Go to prison. So I said, oh my God. They got these guys. When we got done, the guy that was our lawyer was a captain. He says, you know when they got you 2 guys? You got you guys carrying a woman across the state line, underage. Oh, I said, I didn't bring no woman. He said, why the hell didn't you tell me? So I got you all free. I said, well, I'm with them, I guess. So I took the consequences. And what do you do? Next day, marched me to the prison. There was a barbed wire fence, machine gun on a corner. And I thought there was being, only us there was 500 guys in that prison. All the guys that went over the hill. I said, I didn't go over the hill. He said, well, you made a mistake. You're paid for it. They said, well, it'll be forgotten, but it'll be on your discharge. So it is on my discharge, telling me I lost 22 days. But they said, then when we got on the ship and it was going to leave the harbor, said, now I'm going to tell you guys something. When this ship goes out and leaves the harbor, everything's forgotten. But I want to tell you guys something that may make you feel good. MacArthur said he'd rather have 100 men that went over the hill than 500 regulars. He said, shows you guys got guts. I said, got guts, I got caught in a trap. But anyway, that was it. And then after that was a war. Served 3 days and went overseas on the Queen Mary. I didn't say anything to anybody, but I said, oh, I had court-martialed. I said, I thought they were going to shoot us. They said, well, they shoot prisoners. Oh, they need men too bad.
I know times have changed a lot, but do you have any advice for any young person now? I mean, having all. the
Well, I have
experience you
advice
have.
for somebody if they're a certain age and don't have a job, and if you like military life, the only thing about military, you got to take orders. They tell you to do something, you do it. But they do treat you, they make a man out of you. That's what I'll say, they make a man out of you. The first thing you do when they say take orders, you take orders. If they say go wash the dishes, you wash the dishes. And if they tell you do this, you do that. Of course, washing dishes, sometimes they got guys on called KP, they take turns. But whatever you do in the Army, you do it under supervision and you do it good, because it's like I said, a guy goes up today, if his parents don't treat him right, he turns out like today. This guy shot them people at that Waffle House. He went in there and shot and said that, and his father gave him the gun. So I said, now you see there, I said, all these young kids that don't do anything end up going crazy and shooting people. So I'd say if that guy maybe went in the service and they taught him something, he would have had some sense. But they do, I'll tell you, and if you say like you went in service and you wanted to learn something, you tell them, they'll send you to school. See, that's an opportunity I didn't have, but I did learn. I learned how to be a soldier and I learned how to be a man. That's the main thing. World War II, that's why they call it World War, because the whole world was at war. France, England, Germany, and Italy, everybody's at war. And you got to figure how many people were lost in the war. Human life don't mean nothing. When you go to war, you forget about home. You always think, well, you don't forget about it, but you think, am I going to come back? Because you're not going out on a picnic. You're going out on people shooting at you, bombs dropping on you and stuff like that. And if you survive, you're lucky. And I survived.